So everyone's asking, what is the solution to the current predicaments of governments where essentially they have backstopped the entire system, right? There is no problem. You can put your money in any bank you want now. You can invest in any stupid stock you want. The government will print and ensure it has its back. And I could prove that to you. In 2008, obviously we had the great financial crisis. Lehman Brothers collapsed, and the Fed learned its lesson and immediately went and supported all the other banks. They were all just as bankrupt as Lehman Brothers. Don't worry, they were all just as bankrupt, all just as insolvent. And they went, printed a ton of money, quantitative easing for the first time, and gave it to them and supported them. In 2020, we had the pandemic, and again, everything was collapsing. Immediately, the government reduced interest rates to zero, printed 80% of all dollars in 15 months, handed out to the banks, threw it out there, gave them, backstopped their corporate bonds, got BlackRock to buy up their corporate bonds to make sure they wouldn't go bankrupt, and again supported all the companies and all the banks. And then you had 2023 with Silicon Valley Bank collapse. What happened there? They're meant to only be insured, according to FDIC, to $250,000. Yeah, right. They all got paid back, every penny. The US government came in, backstopped everyone, gave them all their money back and said, don't worry. And even the next day, when the next bank went bankrupt, they did the same thing. And then they set up the BTFP, which is a bank funding program where the banks hand in their rotten assets, and the Fed gives them what it says on it. So I give you a $500 monopoly note, which is $500, and the Fed gives me an actual $500, right? That was a BTFP. It's a con. And they did it. That ran for about a year and a half. And now it's all expired. And don't worry, I think troubles are brewing. Things are bad. Things will pop very soon. And you can be damn sure the Fed will backstop them now. That is the problem with all this. What should have happened, and what has never been allowed to happen, is the banks have to collapse. And I will explain to you why this is good. Now, you would say, people say, you can't allow that to happen. Things would be worse. So I would tell you why it wouldn't. If you allow them to collapse and therefore are unable to claim on all the loans that they've lent out, that's the most important point. Not someone else takes them over or someone else takes their loan book. No. They lent out stupidly. That's it. The debt goes. It's the bondholders and shareholders of the bank that get destroyed. Other than that, nothing. The loans that they lent out are good. I mean, that's it. The guy gets to keep his house. The guy gets to keep his railway. The factory stays open. That's what I'm saying. It is essentially a debt jubilee, right? Jubilee coming from the Jewish word Yovel, which was every 50 years, all loans were cancelled and all land returned back to its original owner. You couldn't buy land for perpetuity. It would all go back to its original owner and therefore prevent consolidation, monopolies, the accumulation of wealth by very, very rich. No more, not allowed. That was the beauty, right? It's essentially like communism, but in a nice way, right? Everyone stays the same. There's no one is allowed to be super rich. You can make a little bit of money for 50 years. You can go make some money, buy some fields, make a bit of rent, whatever. But after that, it goes back. And your loans are cancelled. So you don't lend out recklessly either, right? So this is what we need. We need the banking collapse. And I know it will sound crazy. What? All the loans, oh my gosh, all these banks, all the jobs at the banks. Trust me, within a month, there'll be new people out there to lend with actual money, and they'll lend carefully. They're not going to be stupid again. They're not lending to AI, and they're not lending to SPACs, and they're not lending to EVs, and they're not lending to stupid green rubbish. They are lending to legit things. Anything else doesn't get any money. And I promise you, the little man, when everything collapses and your house price is now $10,000, but everyone's house price is $10,000. And you can have kids feeling confident, they can get a job, and your wage will not budge. It will not budge that much. I promise you it won't budge. Because there is a dearth, there's not enough workers. And all these financial parasites will be decimated. All their wealth will be zero. All their shareholders and bondholders will be zero, right? All that accumulated wealth built on passive blood sucking from commoners will be gone. No more rent from the 2,000 mortgages you had because your bank collapsed. The bank collapsed, so they can't collect on that mortgage. So that guy gets to keep his house without a loan. Yes, this is what happens with debt jubilee. So I was thinking, how could we do a debt jubilee? But it came to me, we've got to let them all collapse. And I promise you, if you let one bank collapse, all of them collapse at the same time. And I'm talking globally. But the problem is the system is the globalists, the people in charge. They're the ones who are in charge of these banks, and they're the ones who have an interest to keep them going. And so therefore they will print fake money, which inflates you, which ruins your cost of living, which makes you pay more for everything. They lie to you with a fake stat of 3% when it's really 20%. They lie to you about, don't take too much of a wage increase, and they destroy your life, right? And we don't include housing in the statistics. They destroy your life. They need to be destroyed. These are the people that need to be destroyed, and they're the ones who need to suffer the consequences of their malinvestment. You invested in stupid things. You invested in AI and wind turbines. This is what happens when you invest in stupid things. You lose your money. And that's the way it should go. That's fairness. It's not being nasty. I don't want to be nasty to them. You invest in stupid things, highly leveraged, massive 10 times leverage. Yes, you're going to lose your pants, and so you should do. Right? We need some fairness in the world back, and this would bring it. Debt jubilee. Well, it's not debt jubilee. Just let the banks collapse when they collapse. No government intervention. I promise you, it'll be better for the entire world. It would cause a repercussion all over. If America happened, every bank will be gone, right? Every bank will be gone. Everything will collapse. Then you rise from the ashes because people are debt free. They rise up with their business debt-free, their house debt-free, and people only lend for real projects, no rubbish anymore. No more lending to governments to spend on welfare. Right? They can't get it anymore. You're not getting a penny to spend on welfare. In fact, you cannot borrow. You want to start a war, you can't borrow for that either. It really is the cleaner of the system. That's what we need.